Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about medical coder and healthcare provider relationships. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Okay, guys, so I will start off by saying this. I am a very blunt person. And because of this, sometimes when I'm telling you guys stories, some people will only hear certain parts of the story. So a lot of my words get mistaken all the time, and people write to me panicking after. I'm going to read this one here in a minute that was panicking. But the thing is that I want to say is this. If this is your journey, this is where you're supposed to be. The words that I say are not going to scare you at all. It's not going to scare you. You're going to know that it's for your preparation. And I have always said that. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm here to prepare you. I don't want you to only focus on the things that could be, potentially adverse to your plan. But I want you guys to understand that this industry is incredibly important. I cannot stress this enough. Do you know what we do? We make sure that the patient, above all else, has an accurate legal document, their health record, that says everything that happened to them. The buck stops with us as coders, right? So we have this, and the data that is collected from these records helps to support healthcare programs. It goes to help support education for the community. And of course, the data collection also helps for future planning. Not only that, that healthcare record supports the payments that the provider receives. It helps support that this is what the patient needs to pay, whatever they need to pay for their insurance or whatever. So all of these things are very important. And getting into this career field, you should know that you are going to be working with some of the most intelligent people that you will meet in your whole life. Now, yes, I make jokes here and there. Everybody makes jokes about doctors and how some of them are very arrogant and some of them are really nice and down to earth. Everybody makes those jokes, But the thing is, it's the truth. There are some providers that are not used to coders. They are not used to having those connections with coders. They're not used to a coder going up to them and talking to them, because most of the time there's coders that are afraid. And this message is going to highlight that as well. And so because of this, they're not used to it when a coder comes along and sends them a query, and then all of a sudden now they have to question, somebody's questioning them, like, what did they do? Really? Like, who are you? And I say that because that's probably what they're thinking. And I say that because a lot of times when I have sent out queries in the very beginning, of course I use a template and things for the queries. But when I send out these queries, they're like, oh, I thought I was doing this right. Like, what is it that you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm the coder and that kind of thing. So that's why I try to tell you guys so that y'all can be prepared beforehand. Y'all don't have to keep making the same mistake that I made in the beginning. Okay? So that's what I want to say there first. And then the second thing is, again, my words should have no impact on you questioning if you want to do this or not, if you want to get into this career field or not. This career field is very rewarding. It is very, to me, there's so much that you can do with it. And I have grown so much personally and professionally because of it. I have a whole channel. I have a wonderful audience that is been along on this journey with me the last few years. This channel is 6 years old, So, and every single subscriber I have is organic. Every view I've had is organic, So that's something that you guys have to understand. When I give you examples, it is so that you are prepared. These are not absolutes, and I'm sharing my experience because not everybody's experience is the same. But this is what I go through. This is what I have been through. And there's a lesson in each one of these interactions that I talk about. But let me read this message and then we'll get into it. So the lady says, as a future remote coder, see, didn't listen to anything I said because already wants to be a future remote coder. Putting that out there. Attempting to educate in person a physician that doesn't want to respond to queries sounds like an absolute nightmare. I feel like I really tried to do my research into this field before signing up for training, but I feel like I keep hitting surprises, which I feel are deal breakers for me due to my desire for confrontation avoidance. It's that, and see, that's the most ignorant way to look at it, is that it's confrontational. It's not confrontational when you are working with a teammate. That I always say, coders and providers are teammates. We are teammates. The provider does not tell the coder what to do because the coder has to have the knowledge about the coding. There is no confrontation here. So all this old confrontation avoidance, I'm not really sure what this lady is talking about because there is no confrontation when there's education that's happening. And these providers know that they're going to get queried, okay? And so, do you know of an area of the revenue cycle that avoids going toe-to-toe with both physicians and insurance companies? I want to work, but I can't handle the potential stress of having to go after people in order to do my job. And I said, so you didn't know that you might have to do queries? Because even when I went to like the coding schools, I went to a trade school that's no longer there. Please don't ask me the name. But when I went to these trade schools, because I had to go to 3 different ones, they all told me about like provider communication and having to do queries and things like that. But they said that, you work with the template, you work with the provider and do the education, that kind of thing. Also, okay, that's part of it. And how do you not see that as part of what you're about to get into? So I said further, you didn't think that if you're asking someone that you don't see on a daily basis or have a relationship with, that they wouldn't potentially get upset until you explain what you're doing? Because in that video, I talked about that if you are so steadfast on being remote, that it's going to be more difficult to build those relationships with providers, that you should, if you're in the area, go in to do education so that way they don't ignore you, because if they don't see you, it's very easy for them to ignore you, okay? And so I said, these are just examples, not absolutes. It's about communicating. This can happen in any field. You have to communicate in any field, no matter what you do. If you are a painter and you go and you do painting, like drawings and stuff like that for people, you're still going to have criticism from people. You're still going to have confrontations, like this lady says, confrontations with people. Instead of discussions, she's talking about confrontations. And if you go into sales, you still have people that get upset with customer service and things like that. So you'd have to deal with that as well. So you need to pick and choose. But again, when you work with health information and medical coding, who is your audience? Your audience is not the general public. Your audience is the providers, because that's who we work with. And again, working with these very intelligent people, your communication skills have to be better. Hands down. If you want to have a successful relationship with these providers, your education, your knowledge, your skill needs to be built up. So that way they know this is a person who's smart and knows what they're doing. Because they're going to say, well, I spent so many years in medical school. How dare you tell me? But if they know you're a person that knows what you're doing, they won't have that attitude. Trust me. I am a very short Hispanic woman. And because of this, I get underestimated a lot. And there's a lot of people that didn't think I know all the things that I know until I start talking. And so I've been underestimated many times. But you know what? That's fine. You can underestimate me all you want to. I know what I know. And I know I can help you when you're a provider. I know what to do. I have taken a clinic that was not performing well at all and turned it around based on working with those providers, based on that no one else had the foresight to go and do all the other extra things that I did to educate myself in order to be able to educate them, so that we all learn together. And then when those data reports come out that there's improvement, who did it? Hello? So that's the thing. Again, I don't care if people underestimate me. That's fine. But I will educate you. And that's the thing that my providers know about me. And again, when I say these things, it's because people have come to me and said, Bleu, I sent a query to my provider and he got so upset and now I just don't know what to do. Okay, well then did you go over there and see them so that way we can talk it out? No, because they got too scared. I don't want y'all to be scared. I want y'all to know what to do when these things happen. So I said, if this is all that it takes to get you wondering, I don't know what to tell you. My channel may not be for you, because again, I am very direct and blunt, and a lot of people don't take my message, or they don't like my message, or they don't want my message, whatever the case may be. But you know, whatever I'm telling you is the truth, and you know, whatever I'm telling you is preparing you for whatever it is that you are about to go into, whether it's interviews, whether it's your first year in medical coding, whether it is your test, your test day, like test day tips and things like that. That's what I'm preparing you guys for. But being so scared of everything, guys, that's not gonna fly. You have to know that this is something that is new that you're getting into, and that there's gonna be bumps along the way. I will give y'all an example. So a few years ago, I had a provider, right? So this provider, we were housed away for many years from our providers, right? And so if I ever had to send out a query or whatever, I would let them know, hey, I'm your coder, but here's the query and that kind of thing, and I'd send it to them. They never saw me because I'm housed away in this building. The old hospital that we had was very small. We had outgrew this hospital. And so there was no space for us in the hospital. So we were housed away. And so anytime that they would come over is because the provider made the effort to come over, but it was rare. And usually it's because they needed to sign off on paperwork or something. You know what I'm saying? So they weren't there all the time. And then to see us, they weren't there either. So when we had a new hospital built, the hospital command team decided, hey, we want the coders to be housed in this hospital because we want the coders to be closer to their providers. So in case the providers have any questions, we can keep the communication lines open. And that's perfect. That is somebody that understands and gets it. Well, of course, this is around the time that we are transitioning to ICD-10. So this is perfect timing as well. So I had a provider who, when I would see his documentation, hey, this is great. I can get through this stuff really quickly. I had to do maybe 1 or 2 queries because other than that, he was great. And I would tell him, if you have any questions, please let me know. Never once responded with a question. Never once. Never did he say, I have a question on email. Never. So, okay, cool. I'm thinking everything is cool. Everything is fine. We don't have no issues. So we move in, fast forward, we move into, a year later, we move into this big new, brand new hospital. We're embedded in the clinic. I have a partner at the time, right? Because there was 2 of us and at the time, and she, we were doing education. We were doing a class that day. And so I went in with her to do this class. Well, all of a sudden now I'm feeling nervous. People don't scare me. I get intimidated sometimes because, I just get nervous, but I don't get scared, right? No one scares me, right? So, but I'm in this room and there's all these surgeons and we're all around the same age. And so I'm just like, I'm all of a sudden I got really nervous because they're really close. This was a very small room and this was a very intimate setting. Like I could reach out and touch them. Like it was that close. But I had done education before, but I always done it like, on a stage and things like that where I had room to move and things. And so that was okay. I don't know why. Don't ask me why it's so different to be in a room full of people versus on the stage. And I don't know. But for some reason that day, I felt very intimidated that day. So I was thinking in my head, like, what do I have to say to them that they don't already know? Right? Even though, think about this. I know the coding. They know the medical stuff. They need me. So I started, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I was telling my partner, I was like, you got to go first because I can't do this. I can't do this. She goes, Blue, relax. It's okay. And my partner was a little bit older, right? So this did not bother her, you know? And I don't know if it's because we were all this almost the same age, and that's like, it's like your peers. It's like being in high school again. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to go in front of the class. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But she was older and it didn't matter to her. She goes, I'll go first. And then if you feel comfortable, just jump in and then we'll just take it from there. So I said, okay. So after a while, I did feel comfortable. I started to relax. I'm like, okay, these are just people and that kind of thing. Okay, cool. So I do my part of the presentation and everything's great. We've got really good conversation going. Everybody's asking questions and it's all good. So then at the end of the meeting, we are just kind of standing around. People are kind of like doing sidebar conversations, and then we're addressing some questions for people who had come up to us. Then all of a sudden I hear, hey, don't you drive that? And there was a surgeon in there that was asking me about my car. Well, of course, he gets the name of the car wrong, the car brand wrong. I'm not going to say it here because I don't want to offend anybody. But I said, no, heck no, I don't drive that, you know. And so I start telling them about my car. I love cars. I love fast cars in particular. Of course, I love my car. And so I start talking about my car. They start asking me about it. And of course, it's all guys. And so they're all like, you know, oh, talking about cars and things like that. So we get into this conversation about cars. Well, now we've built a connection. Okay. We've built a connection on cars. So we end the class, everything's great. And I leave. And so then the next week or so, when I had to be over there on that side again, that same surgeon had another surgeon that I didn't see before and in his office. And he's like, hey, tell him about your car. Tell him about your car. So I start telling him about my car. And so we start talking about cars again. Well, now I have a new connection with this other surgeon, right? New guy. Having this other connection with him too. I'm like, okay, this is great. Cool. You know? So I'm thinking everything's good. If people have questions, they know where to go, and you know, they know that they can talk to us and things like that, because we had people coming up to us in the hallways. This is wonderful. We can have questions and we can have answers, and like all these things can work out, right? Because we're building relationships. Okay. I went on leave and I come back and my partner says, hey, there's this guy walking around. He's one of the hospital administrators, and he is going to be asking you questions about coding. So I was like, okay, cool. You know, whatever. I'll just wait for him to come by. So I'm there working, and then the clinic administrator comes in, or not clinic, the hospital administrator comes in, and he says, hey, which one of you is the coder for this surgeon? And that's the surgeon that was asking me about my car. And I said, oh, yeah, that's me. And he's like, I said, what's up? And he's like, oh, hey, well, he just says that you don't talk to him and that he has questions, but, you know, you never answer. I said, say what? He's like, yeah, he says that, you know, he would like to get more feedback from you. And I said, wait. I said, no. I said, I have emailed him. I have sent him messages to say that his documentation was good. I have asked him in other emails, like with queries and stuff, if you have any questions, please let me know. Not once did I get a response like, hey, you know, I have a question or thing. And he goes, well, I said, you know what? I'll be right back. He goes, wait, where are you going? And I said, no, I'm going to handle this right now. So I marched around and I went over to his office and I'm knocking at the door and I stand right there. And he's like, oh, hey, how's it going? He's all smiling. And I'm like, so I hear from a little birdie, we have a problem with our communication. And I said it just like that, because I know if I'm doing my job, then why are you telling people that I'm not doing my job by giving you feedback? So I said, so I heard from a little birdie, we have a little problem with our communication. He's like, oh, we know, well, the thing is, I don't like email. you don't like email? You don't like email? And he's like, well, I would just like more feedback. And I was like, you couldn't tell me that? I said, we see each other in the hallway. You can't tell me that you don't like email, that you want interaction? And he's like, well, I just thought that. And I was like, okay, well, so I said, wait a minute. I said, your notes are great. And he goes, but I think I can improve. And I'm like, you want me to find things wrong with your notes? And he's like, well, I just think that there's some more things that I can learn. He goes, you're the coder, Blue. He goes, you have the knowledge that I need. So that's why. I said, well, that would have been nice if you would have told me that. But I didn't say that. But I'm saying that this is how communication starts. This surgeon went and told somebody that I wasn't a good communicator. Even though he had the messages that says that I was communicating with him. He was not reciprocating because it wasn't what he wanted. So that's the thing, guys. When I tell you that there's things that these surgeons and doctors will say and do, it's because I want y'all to be prepared. Now, because of that whole situation right there, anytime I had gotten a new provider in after that, I made it a point to take them a welcome packet and a little goodie bag and things, and physically go over there to their office, introduce myself, and talk to them and things like that. I would ask them, how do you feel about emails? Are you more of a in-person person? And they go, well, if you're in the hallway, I may ask you a question. I say, okay, that's great. So that means I know I need to avail myself to them when they need questions answered, because they're not going to go through email. So that's the thing, guys. I want y'all to understand this. If I had been so scared and not wanted to be around my providers or talk to them, I would have missed out on communication. I would have missed out on that growth. Because of that one surgeon, I was able to learn, okay, this is how these surgeons want to be communicated with. And having the experience with different ones, and I've had surgeons that started brand new. They come in and I'm doing my orientation with them to help them to okay, here's a laminated evaluation and management tool. Let's go over some of these templates we have. Let's go over some of these tips. I've had one surgeon say, this is stupid, blah, 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 and he's just yelling. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't bother me because it's not me that they're getting upset with. It is the fact that they don't understand something. It's new to them. And now they're going to have to really pay attention to what they're doing. That's that response. It's not anything to do with me. And once I understood that it's nothing to do with me and taking that burden off of myself, that's what turned around my whole experience. I didn't take getting yelled at personally like that when he was yelling and, oh, this is stupid. I never took it personally after that. Because, even in that situation, I didn't take it personally because I knew that's exactly what happened, is that this was something new, that I was somebody that was coming to him that was going to help him, but he didn't understand this stuff right away. And it seemed like a lot. I know it was a lot. I know, because there's a lot of information that has to go into these things. And I was changing the way that he was thinking that he was doing it right when actually he wasn't. There's a better way to do these things. And so, again, having a partner really helped in this situation because she had overheard that the new provider liked Reese's. So I went and I put that little Reese's peanut butter cups in my little candy basket, my bear trap, and I had it there. This is for everybody. And so when he starts yelling, oh, this is stupid, I don't want to, this is dumb, and blah, 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 I said, oh, do you want some candy? I said, there's the candy basket over there. And he stopped yelling. And he goes, there's Reese's in here. And I go, oh, is there? I go, oh, well, do you want some? I said, help yourself, He goes, So he takes the one Reese's out of there and he storms off out of my room. And I'm like, And then so my partner goes, that went well. And I go, yeah, it did. So then, no joke, 15 minutes later, he comes back, he goes, I get it. I understand what you're saying now. So then he starts telling me back what I said. And that's all it took was for me not to take it personally, right? As blustering, for me not to take it personally, for him to take a second to cool down. And Reese's was the MVP that day. And then he was just like, okay, I get it. I get it now. And he became one of my best documenters in the clinic. One of the best. So that's the thing that you guys have to understand. It's not personal, but we need to get out of our own way. This lady, based on what she says, oh, I don't want any confrontation. But how are you ever going to grow? If you're so sensitive to what other people say, how are you ever going to grow? Right? And again, it has nothing to do with you. These surgeons, these doctors, these nurse practitioners, these PAs, these are all people. People who have spouses, kids, and lives of their own outside of the hospital. And they have all of this on their plate, plus they take care of patients. You are supposed to be their teammate as the coder and help them. Help them to understand and become more educated with their documentation and make sure that they understand that these are the elements that are there, that need to be there for complete documentation, so that a most specific code, most specific procedure code can be selected. That's what we do. We don't confront. We educate. We work as a team together. Okay? That's what we do. And if you are overly sensitive, there's really nothing, everything is always going to get to you. As far as like, oh, this person, that person. People have lives of their own. And they're not really thinking about you. Yes, we all need to be respectful. Yes, we all need to be, courteous to one another and things like that. But there's going to come a time when people are not going to understand what you're doing. I know that there's a lot of times on the channel where people don't understand when I'm educating. They don't understand. And then sometimes they get upset with me, and then they come back and say, you know what, Blue, you were right. You were right. And it doesn't matter what it is. It's been on so many different things. Blue, you were right. Because what you said was the truth. I just didn't want to hear it. Again, you're not always going to be the most favorite. Okay? But it's like those parents, that not that I'm trying to say I'm a parent or anything like that, because I'm not. But what I am saying is this, like when you're growing up and you're like, oh no, my parents are wrong, blah, blah, blah. And then you find out later, oh, they were right. So they were doing the thing that was not the most popular to you, or not the most favorite thing of yours, but they did it to help you, to protect you, to make you grow. And if your parent said, okay, if you fall down, you got to get right back up. It's the same thing in life, guys. You can't let your fear stop you from doing this. This person wants to be at home, doesn't want to be around anybody, doesn't want to do any of these things, but you want to work in a field that is going to require it. That's one of those things that it requires, because it's so important. And this is just one element. And if you don't put yourself into that situation where you're learning to communicate better, and I did that. I started doing all these kind of self-help things to try to help myself to communicate better. I learned more about body language and things so that I could understand if the provider wasn't understanding or if they were understanding. I started to learn those things because, again, that helped me. But you're never going to get there if you don't put yourself there. And this constant conversation of, oh, remote. It's not the best thing for new people when you get in, because you're missing out on development. And I could have a whole different conversation about that. But I'm telling you guys that if you are not giving yourself the opportunity to learn now, it's gonna catch up with you later on. Okay? It's gonna catch up with you later on until you start getting into it. then you'll understand. Then you'll understand the joy that you can get out of it, the full joy that you can get out of it. But until then, you only have your own set certain way that you want to do things, and oh no, Blue, you're coming up with all these other things. No, I'm not. These are my stories. These are examples from me, so that you all know what to do when you're out there, so you can be prepared. So instead of not being prepared, I'm just saying. With that said, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for listening to me. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.